Hello, welcome back to the channel. It's been a few weeks since I made a video on the Mini, but I haven't done nothing. Let's get into what I've got through. At the end of the last video, I said the next thing I'll be doing is getting the jacking point in, and I talked about how I was going to be doing it. And then this happened on my daily driver. So there was obviously the huge financial blow of finding a new exhaust system for my car, which kind of held up things that were going on with this, because the time I was supposed to be putting into this is the time I was then spending searching for parts, ringing round, and yada 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 yada. You get the picture. But it's done, and I did get out to work on the car a couple of times, and the jacking point is in place, and I haven't videoed it, but I will show you what I did. Here is said jacking point, now in place. Yes, I have blown through a couple of holes and I will be plugging them up because I'm not perfect. I made some holes in this so I can spot through to the other side. On the other side I made holes that I could burn through to this side, especially on this top bit here. You can sort of see where everything was. I then had the jacking point kind of resting in place with the sill held in place so that it was kind of all held where it needed to be. And then, yeah, I tacked it from the inside, took the sill off, and then I've done bits on both sides. So let's get on to today. Now you may be able to see there is a hole here, on there. That's going to stay because that's an access point. And up inside here, if you can sort of catch a glimpse of it, I don't know if you can. There it is. There is, I kind of misaligned one of my holes, so I blew through there. So I'm going to tidy up all of these bits so the jacking point is in. So that all is left is then rust prevent, maybe a undercoat of the rust proof primer so that this doesn't go any rustier than it already is. And then we can look to be getting the sills on. Lovely. So while it didn't take that long to weld up all those little holes, it did take a long time to flat off the bits of weld because, you know, me, crap welder, and old metal in the car. So fast forward a couple of hours and I'll catch you up on where we are. You'll notice here, yeah, there's still some relatively ugly bits and I appear to have missed a teeny tiny bit here. I might not be able to get that back, but yeah, it's not going to hurt too badly. But yes, the holes are plugged up. They've been flatted smooth. I've dealt with these holes here. I also dealt with a hole here. I dealt with something else over there. And I went down this side of the tunnel, anywhere you can see paint. I then turned my attention to the floor, and I've also flatted off sections of this. The roll cage is kind of in the way, and I'm on my hands and knees, and my knees started to hurt. So I did bits of this, but I've just given this a coat of paint to stop it from going rusty. So anywhere that there was bare metal that I can get to, like I haven't done here, but I will get to all of this. It will all get painted. So that's where we're up to now. I went around the outside edge here again as well because we'd had some surface rust from all the water. So next is going to be something under here. I think I'm going to just get, so I want to try and put a couple of spot welds onto these points here. So I'm going to mark out and try and drill those holes. If I get you a better angle so you can see. So you've got this flat and this flat should sit relatively close to where the sill goes. So I can, you know, a couple of points of attachment there. So it's really secure kind of jacking point. So I want to make sure I've got those holes ready on the actual sill so that I can see that these are in the right place. And then I'm going to go with the scrub it, kill the rust, and then some more of this grey paint all over the inside of it. How are you going to get these in the right place, I hear you say, Nick? Well, it's going to be a bit sketchy, and there's a good chance that this one might not be exactly where it needs to be. I might need to do some bending down of this tab, but I'm going to start with a yellow pen mark roughly in the same sort of place, here and here, which is way back further than it would need to be, but it gives me a visual reference. And I will do the same on the top here, directly above where it is. I'm also going to measure it from that edge back, 350 to 365, and we've got 485 to 500 back from that point there. 350 to 365, 485 to 500. How far away from this edge are we? So 5 to 50 and 15 to 55. And that finishes right on the edge there. So it's kind of there and there. So yeah, to the eye, that's in about the right place. I'll have to do a little bit of fettling on this edge of the sill. It's not a very clean fold here, but how good does it look to see a bit of sill on the car? I'm looking forward to this being done. Let's do the next bit. Okay, extra holes in. Let's see if they line up. To give you an idea of how they've lined up, if I push that over to the sill, we're not too far off there. That'll do for me. And I can show you that one there. We have lined up nice. I just managed to rebend that edge so that it's closer to where it needs to be. And yeah, they're in the right place. I'm probably going to run a little seam around here as well. We'll see how the mood takes me when I go to do it. Right, plug up them holes. And because you don't really want to see me plugging up holes, we've done that one, we've done that one, and we've done them two down there, and they are invisible repairs. How did I do an invisible repair? You can just about sort of see a little bit there, but it's not going to get hurt by being there. I welded a teeny tiny tab, a bit like that, behind the hole, and then I flap wheeled it away once I'd kind of built up the other side. So yeah, that works out quite nice there. That's the rust killer on all the way down. You can see it goes on like a milky white colour, and then gradually as it converts the rust it goes like a black colour. It's dry in about 15 minutes and it can be painted over in, I think it said 3 hours, but I might give it a second coat just to make sure I didn't miss anywhere. I'll be back out tomorrow to add some paint. Okay, fast forward to the next day. So last night I went out and I gave it a second coat of the old rust converter. I splashed it up everywhere I could, and you can see I've been doing a fair bit of work on the car around here with all the rust and stuff that's dropping off it, because part of my driveway started to turn black with it. So any of the bits of rust where the stuff's dripped down has turned black. Now I was going to leave this and show you the black converted rust stuff, but I didn't. So I got the rattle can out last night, the old zinc primer, whatever it is, and I gave this a good coat, and I've been out again this morning and I've given it another good coat. So there's 2 coats of the rust resistant primer there. I've also been down here and I've done the same on this. So the whole inside has had 2 coats of the rust resistant primer. So hopefully at some point it might go rusty, but it won't be in my lifetime. Or maybe it will, and this is a horrendous mistake. But this is better than leaving it bare metal, that's for sure. So I've now got to, I guess, trim the panel to length, because there's a little bit of metal to come off of this end. And I've got to get me plug weld holes all ready. So with the sill nicely in place where it should go, obviously we've got the jacking point lined up there. You can see the where the spot welds are going to be for the jacking bracket. Everything is where it should now be. But on this end with these sills, if I can get you a better angle, you can see it just overhangs the back a little bit. You kind of want to run a cut where that step is there. So I'm going to run a cut down there all the way along, just so I've got an edge to sort of seam down here, and then punchy holes all the way along. I haven't forgotten that I've got to have the door open when I do this, because I've got to pull the B-post in before I attach it on that edge, because that hopefully will then hold the B-post over a bit, and if it doesn't, I have plan B. So you kind of want to run a cut line down there so it's nicely in the middle of this bit of the heel board. I know officially this is supposed to be tucked on the inside and maybe even spotted. I don't know. Don't know the ins and outs of what it was supposed to be, but that's what I did last time, and that's what I'm going to do this time. A nice little seam down the outside, because if you ever want to take it off, you can get to it. If you've got this far through this video and you haven't already done so, please, down there, go and press the old thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please go and give that button a hit just to follow along on the journey, and I'll let you get back to the entertainment now. And there we go. Next port of call, I've got to punch a load of holes in the top of this, and I've got to punch a load of holes in this edge here, and then I've got to start cleaning back some metal to bare. Now this has been asked before, so I thought I would just cover what my approach is. So this is how far apart do you put your spot welds. So when you've got a nice long seam like this, you can measure it, see how many inches, basically get your tape measure and go bzz, 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 1 per inch. Okay, it'll be on here, but you can measure it up, divide it into inches, maybe put an extra one in if you want to. Do one spot an inch. That's not going to hurt. It gets a bit more tricky when you've got this, because obviously you can't put any welds on this bit, but here you've got 2.5 inches, and then you've got what, 6.5 inches, and then 4.5 inches, and then another 4.5, and then another 6.5, and another 4.5, and up here maybe 2.5, thereabouts. So there's no sort of even way you can do it. What I do is get my joggler in, I'll get one as close as I can to that edge there. I'll do the same at this edge here, and yeah, then divide it up as best I can, sometimes by eye, sometimes by rule. So I think this is the job of a time lapse. And there we have it. So that one's nice and easy to do. Now we've got to do this bad boy. What I ended up doing there, so as I said, I punched a hole here and here as closely as I could, and then I put the ruler over it, and I kind of, well, let's go with this one, and I kind of, this one works out quite nice. It averaged out kind of okay over the 1 and the 6, so I did 1 every inch. I've got a feeling up here, I kind of, the zero, I've kind of averaged it out. Where can I get my centre point close enough that I've got an even amount either side of the 0 and say 6 inches, and then I do 1 an inch. So this gap here and this gap here are a little closer, but it's close enough. And so I've got 3 in here. This is going to be a seam all the way down here and into there. And then this bit up here, I've only done 2 here. There's a slightly bigger gap here, but this bit here is going to be a little bit of seam weld as well. It's just an awkward shape, and there's going to be a bit of seam running down that edge, and I'm probably going to end up doing a seam along this edge here because this little tang that hangs down isn't entirely there on the front of my car. But you get the gist. And obviously I've got to do these at the same time as well. So now I've got to clean everything back and get some bare metal. So there we have everything prepped for welding. So I've cleaned only as much paint as I think I can get away with. I was going to use the drill and just do little circles like I've done elsewhere, but I'll be honest, there's so many holes here. We've got all them ones as well on both sides. It was taking so long I was getting bored, so it's a mini, it's going to go rusty, but at least I've kind of tried to limit it a bit. I've kept as much paint on the inside areas where water can get and then get away from. I might run a little spray of what's it called, weld through primer over these before I weld it, but I've never really had great experiences with that before, so I might not. But yeah, the other side is the same. Every hole along there is the same, and if we have a look up here under there, you can see anywhere there's going to be a weld, I've cleaned back to bare metal. I've also got these bad boys back in place, because when I weld the outer sill, I'll do the spot welds on this edge first, but then I know that those holes there are going to be in the right place for where I want the sill to be. So chances are it's going to still spring back, and I might have to do some more work on that post fixing, but at least I know that that B post will be where it should be when the sill's on, so that that's not the problem. Right, have I done the bottom of these? Yeah, you can see where I've done the bits on the jacking point as well. So, right. Well, I guess it's time to break the welder out then. Still feel like I'm forgetting something, but it's too late now if I am. Have it. The sill is fitted. I started to get the hang of it. There's a couple of little blobby ones. There's a couple that sort of burned through a little too much. I will go back and plug up these little tiny holes later, but right now the welder has overheated and I've had to switch it off. The old thermal trip went. I knew it was coming because the welder started to spit on the underside. But yeah, these ones, really happy with these. I had to shut the door. I didn't film doing this end, and I didn't film the very front of here because I'm limited on space, and I had to shut the door, and I had to be where the camera was, and there was no way to see. But we are slightly ugly seam down the front here. These bottom ones are okay. There's a couple of bits, but the inner sill dipped in a little bit here, but that's under the tunnel. I can't really knock it back out, so I've just had to bend the outer sill up to meet it, but I'll be honest, that'll be all right. It's a good strong part of the car. There's a couple of slightly uglier ones down here that I've got to tackle when I get the car on its side. But yeah, for a guy working out of his garage with a 60 quid welder, I'm really pleased with that. Now the big question that some of you may have, if you've seen me other videos, is obviously the B pillar had moved outwards. So I've obviously clamped it over to where I want it to be whilst I was welding the sill on, in the hope that the sill will hold it over where it should be. So shall we take these clamps off and see whether it's going to move as much, whether the door looks nice? Yeah, we probably should, shouldn't we? Oh, that didn't move over very much at all. Wonder how the door looks now. Considerably better than it was. Might be able to get that out with a bit of jemmy of the door frame. Doesn't catch on the inside now. Oh, that's a lot better. So we have gained a fair bit of space there. I'm really happy with that. So the outer sill is now fitted, and this is by far and away the longest video I've done, I think, ever. Might not be, but I'm pretty sure it is. So I'm going to leave it here. Thank you very much for watching. I would love if you could go down and press the old the thumbs up button if you've enjoyed this. If you're not already a subscriber, hit the button, and I'll see you on the next one.